This is Julianne Condia, host of Rewritten. Thank you so much for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hello, everybody. It's No Filter Friday on Public House Media, and although we're doing the Jungle Edition, obviously, we're not. I mean, it's Saturday morning for me, and I have to say, I'm really missing the night of No Filter Friday night vibes. I was kind of lurking around last night, and it was so loud. I mean, it's still super loud, which is something I should apologize for. There's a super annoying music festival going on, like, behind that palm tree right there, and you may or may not be able to hear it. It's not as loud as it was, but last night I was like, maybe I'll, like, pre-record the show. Where am I? I'm in Goa. Maybe I'll, like, pre-record the show, but then there was, like, a wedding next door beyond this other palm tree over here, and they had fireworks. And when I say they had fireworks, they had like bomb sounding fireworks. So as much as I wanted that night vibe, I was like, oh, maybe I'll pre-record, and I'm like, no, I can't. The sound, it's gonna be bad. And then it needs to be live because I miss you, and we do this live for a reason. So sometimes I have to pre-record, and there's just like no way around it. But right now it's me, you, some flat water, because I can't get any sparkling out here. No carbonation out here in the jungle. But, they've got monkeys, so I guess it's just a trade-off. Somebody might come cruising through at some point. It's crazy out there. Super jungly. Super jungly. I was going to try to do this show from the hammock, but then it's going to be like all over the place. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the agenda. That's what we're going to do. And it's going to be super fun, and we're going to talk about things, and we're just going to forgive the fact that we don't have any tea or any sparkling water, and it just, we've got solid Wi-Fi. So let's be thankful for what we have, if we can. Agenda is as follows. Marilyn Manson, new stealthing bill in California that got introduced, and this pedophile lady that got sentenced to 7 years in prison for some things. So, I keep hearing and I keep getting asked about Marilyn Manson because I think the streets talk at this point. And they're like, Rachel, we know that you know girls that have been boning Marilyn Manson. We know this about you. And I'm like, yeah, you know that about me because it's true. However, I haven't heard any of the people that I know that have been with him say these things about him, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It just means they didn't tell me about it if it did happen. And considering he has like 4 women coming out against him right now, and he detailed, much like OJ, in a book several years ago, what he was doing to Evan Rachel Wood, and we all knew that it was Evan Rachel Wood that he was talking about, and now she's talking about the same thing. So like, it's very much OJ if I did it, except Marilyn Manson's book didn't even have that clever of a title. So we're going to unpack that bag for sure. It's not going to be today, but I thought I would acknowledge it because like people are asking me, they're like, girl, I know you know that chick that he sent home with Pop-Tarts and a juice box because he knows that she's a single mom. Like, I know people know that about me. That's fine. I get it. And hey, let's be honest, that's how this show was born, right? Because I know these things. Anyway, let's talk about this new stealthing bill. Equally celeb-worthy, because I know a couple celebs who I'm not going to say that they do it now, but they did it back in the day. And I know this, but we're not going to talk about that until somebody comes out against them. But when they do, I'll be here with details. So, there's an assemblywoman in California, her name's Christine Garcia. She's put up a couple bills before, and on top of that, I spoke with her office when my friend and friend of the show, Dr. Amy, was murdered last year a year ago. Because she had some restraining order issues, and like her abuser killed her eventually in her own home, which you can go back and listen to the show about that if you want to. It's really gruesome, and I can't believe I ever had to do it, but I did. So I ended up speaking to this assemblywoman's office. She's kind of out in Inland Empire. She's introduced some other sexual assault bills before, and she's also gotten accused of sexual assault herself, which, hey, it happens, I guess. Weird. So this episode is a lot to unpack. So I would say, I'm going to say this now before we really get into this, that if you are a male survivor of sexual abuse, trigger warning, this might not be a show that you're going to want to do right now. If it is, that's totally cool. Hang around. We have lots of things to talk about. But if you feel like something from your situation is going to make you feel bad from watching this, maybe just kick it on down the road. Just an idea. Totally up to you. But I felt the need to say it just because there's a couple quotes in here that I pulled from an article that are like, they're inflammatory to me, and I'm not a male survivor of sexual abuse. So if it makes me feel bad, I would go out on a limb and say it's probably going to make you feel bad. With that being said, the investigation into Assemblywoman Christina Garcia didn't hold up for like sexual abuse allegations. It just said that she used inappropriate language and was like overly familiar with staffers. So that's what I know currently. Anyway, so she has introduced a new stealthing bill, and stealthing is when people remove condoms during sex without letting their partner know or getting permission from their partner. Because the idea behind this is that you consented to sex conditionally. Whatever those conditions may be, one of them was that person wear a condom. And then at some point during sex, they're like, oh, let me just pop this off really fast. And they think that you don't know. It's happened to me before, and you're like, dude, I'm not having your baby. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Luckily, when it has happened to me, I notice, and there's some people that don't notice, because the experience of condoms for men and women is completely different. Completely different. So, it's happened to me. I caught it. Some people don't catch it. It's just the situation. So basically, non-consensual condom removal will now classify as a sexual battery that would allow for civil charges. Risks, and like survivors can cite like risk of STD and unwanted pregnancy. There was a show on HBO called I May Destroy You that did a whole scene about this, and apparently it's really, really well depicted on this side of the world. I'm not exactly watching a whole lot of HBO, but apparently it looks good. So maybe we'll poll the audience on this and see how the HBO show I May Destroy You depicted stealthing, and see what you think about it and get back to me, because I would like to know. I would like to know how people feel about like just the writing in general, and I would also like to know about if you can see as an audience member from an HBO show, if you can see the intimacy coordinator position that has been implemented in their filming. So let me know. Basically, victims will be able to pursue damages over jail time. Now, I'm kind of surprised that we didn't end up doing any of this stealthing capacity in the law when they criminalized knowingly spreading STDs. That is kind of strange to me. Now, when I posted this article, it's so funny because most of the time when I post about really heinous stuff like pedophiles getting sentenced, pedophiles getting beat up, really horrific, gruesome crimes that have happened to women across the world, the Egypt situation, the rape that happened back in September in India, where tongues were split and spines were broken and all that stuff. There's really only a handful of people that ever comment anything or even have a reaction to it. And they're a pretty reliable group of people. Some people just message me privately about it, and that's fine. Those are my DM besties. But this particular article that I posted, got so many comments. So many comments that were like, oh, pearl clutching. We haven't seen this kind of comment section since the Heather Perry episode part 1 and 2, and I believe there might have been a 3. Like, these comments were like eye-opening for real. So to address some of that, a lot of people think like, oh, it's just like this only happens when like you're having, some one night stand from some bar. And that's not the case. It's not the case at all. When it happened to me, it was with somebody that I was sort of dating on and off. It wasn't a random. We still talk to this day on occasion. I have friends that have gotten STDs from men that they were engaged to. And what's really, really gruesome is those STDs also showed up in that guy's daughter. He also passed it to her. So it's not just a one night stand thing. People do this. And I have another friend, that was with a guy for like a while. They were in a serious committed relationship, and he was an older dude. He decided that he wanted another baby right now, immediately, like this. And he was super desperate to have another kid. And she was like, not really trying to do that with you, or maybe, but not at this exact second. And he was just really, really, really trying to get her pregnant. And it, obviously that fell apart pretty quickly, but it happens. There are people in this world, if you can believe it, it's very hard to believe, but there's people in this world that have the intentions of spreading STDs. Hi, David Bobke. It sounds good. Oh, thank God. You can't hear the music festival back here? Or monkeys or birds or none of that? Oh, thank God for you. Anyway, it happens to people, so we'll see what happens with this bill, if it goes or not. It would be helpful. Now, let's talk about this wackadoo that 30-year-old woman who is a counselor, who is getting 7 years in prison. Her name's, I think this is maybe just a bizarre spelling of Kayla, just like some trash spelling of Kayla Kreutzer. She's getting 7 years in prison, sentenced by Judge Suzanne Robinson, who I think we can put her in the top 5 judges of No Filter Friday for sure. She was arraigned for 2 degrees of felony sexual abuse of a minor, child rape, one misdemeanor charge of child endangerment, and 1 misdemeanor charge of violating a temporary restraining order. Now, she pled no contest to that felony charge, so the other charges got dropped. Now, let's talk about what happened. She was a counselor to a minor boy, and she took him to a bonfire where she proceeded to have sex with him in her car. I guess people found out. They brought her up on charges. Now she's going to prison. However, if that's not disgusting enough as it is, let's talk about the exchange between her defense attorney, her defense attorney, and the judge. So her plead to the judge was like, I'm so sorry for everyone that I hurt. It was very mea culpa. And then she said, I'm so sorry for everyone that I hurt and who's been victimized by my wrongdoings, and having to come clean with my children is just going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. Apparently now this chick supposedly cares about children. How, madam? When and where? How is that a thing? Oh, right, it's not. Now, her defense attorney, in his defense of this woman pleading no contest, said that this is where it gets sticky. She suffers from PTSD from childhood trauma and from being in an abusive relationship for 8 months, and I really think that her actions are a direct reflection of that. Now, I said that to say this. 97% of pedophiles were abused themselves. That is a statistical fact. That's a lot to unpack on its own. However, it's not an excuse to abuse more kids. It's just not. Point blank period. This cannot be a defense. It's not a defense. It's not a defense. It's not a defense. You can try to elicit sympathy all you want, but it's not a defense. Now, it gets worse. Oh, buddy, does it get worse? Now, from there, her attorney goes on to say that gender roles and the social conditioning around them play an important part in a person's sexual readiness, and that boys are more sexually ready than girls at that age. And it's not harmful to them because they're more sexually ready because of gender roles. I can't. It's so disgusting that I can't. A kid's a kid. To which the judge retorted, that's not an excuse to abuse boys. He's a minor. He cannot consent. He has the inability to consent because he's a minor. Therefore, you have committed a crime, madam. It is a felony. And now you're going to jail for 7 years. Judge says that she was disgusted, blah, 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 which is great. So, in my opinion, Judge Suzanne Robinson gets a top 5 for No Filter Friday judges, in my opinion. And again, there's tons to unpack in the, oh, but boys are okay with it. That's going to be a hard no. No, they're not okay with it. They're not. 1 in 6 boys is molested by the time they turn 18, and it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay if a woman does it. It's not okay if a man does it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. These things are irrelevant. They're absolutely irrelevant. The point is that it's sexual abuse of a child. It's raping a child. And you can't do it. You just can't. I don't care what your excuse is. I don't care what your PTSD is. I don't care what any of those things are. It's not an excuse. So, that's enough No Filter Friday for 1 week, I think. Let's pray to God there's not more to unpack because, we could, but I don't currently have the stones for any more than that. But if you do, let me know in the comments and I'll go pick up some stones from somewhere. Some jungle hut might have some stones available. So go check out other shows on Public House Media like Choose to Rise. Very uplifting, not at all dark and dirty like this one. And I will see you all next week. Bye.